on a minute early, let people find us. All right. Yeah, because, yep, then it does that. All right. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We are on just a couple minutes early so that people can try to find the video and figure out where we are and all that good stuff. So
We are here.
Yep, we'll give it just a second here. Me and Catherine were just talking about how it's later in the day than we normally do these, so it's kind of that like end of the day
If we look tired,
sort of thing.
that's
It's,
why.
Yeah, a little different than our energy in the morning probably, which is okay. But then we have trying to take a day off tomorrow because we're getting a new roof, so we're like, this is like Friday for us.
A
So
Thursday,
that's
Friday.
exciting. A Thursday, Friday. All right, we'll give everybody just a minute here before we start because we're going to be doing things a little bit differently this time, similar to what we did last time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're going to be actually incorporating our podcast into this. So our Voiceover Casting Corner podcast, we will do our live recording of that first with you guys, and then we will open it up to Q&A. So, all right.
I have one soul.
Yep. Can I see who is on? Or does it only show us if there's something in the chat? We're still figuring out all this Facebook Live stuff. Hello. Hello, hello. All right. Well, excellent. Hopefully people are finding us.
Yeah, it's 4 o'clock now.
Yes.
People are
and
logging
you know
in
what?
and
I can.
searching us out.
I'm gonna try to pin our video really quick. It's a little trick that I learned here. Let me go.
Happy Thursday. Happy evening to everybody. If you're joining on the East Coast, I hope
Depending on where you are, I guess.
it's not
yeah.
too late.
Okay. Okay.
Hi, Susie.
It's working. Hello, hello, hello. All right. Excellent. So let's just get
Let's just do
started.
it.
We'll
Let's
get
do it.
started. More people will be joining us, I'm
Exactly.
sure. So welcome to Voiceover Casting Corner. This is the Voicecasters podcast where once a month we are going to be just chatting about different topics, things that come up all the time for us, questions that we're frequently asked, things like that. We just want to give you guys some perspective from the casting side. So that's what we're here for. We are here to chat. We're excited to chat with you guys. And then once we're done with that portion, then we will move into the Ask Us Anything. It can be about what we just talked about, or it can be anything you want.
Your burning
any
questions.
All right. So today's topic is, Catherine just got this phone call.
Everyone tells me I have a great voice. So what do I do from here?
Can you get me a job?
Right.
I like to read
I should
books
be
to
an
my
actor.
kids.
Right?
Every time. Almost daily, sometimes multiple times a day, we get this same phone call. People telling us what a great voice they have.
Everybody tells me I've got
Yeah.
a great voice, so I decided I should look into this.
Yep, I have a voice for radio. I read books to my kids, and I do lots of funny voices. I've been doing voices since I was a kid. What else do they say? Oh, I have a podcast,
Yep.
so I should do voiceover. I talk for a living,
Yep.
you know, lots of public speakers, things like that. And that is all fantastic.
But there's
a
so
lot
much
more
more.
to it is called voice acting, after all. So
Yeah.
keeping that in mind, you know, this is something that we go over with people on a daily basis, both on the
Exactly.
phone, in emails. We're doing it right now, trying to get the word out that it's great that you have
Yeah.
a nice voice.
That's awesome, but what do you do with it? Do you know how to use it?
A lot of people have nice voices. There are also a lot of people who have just very general everyday voices who are very successful in voiceover. Nobody's ever told them they have a great voice.
Right.
But they still have a lot of success in voiceover. So, all right. So, one of the things that came up for me earlier today when I was talking about this is the analogy of an instrument. So your voice is your instrument, right? That is how, that's what you're working with when you're doing voiceover. Your voice is your instrument. So say I have a shiny saxophone. It's a beautiful saxophone. Like, should I go to a band and say, hey, look at my beautiful shiny saxophone? Everyone says it's so lovely. I'd like to join your band. Doesn't make sense, right? I don't know how to play the saxophone. Funny enough, as a kid, I did play that in band, but I wouldn't know where to even begin now, too many years later. Mm-hmm. So, it is your instrument. You have to learn how to use it. It's like, okay, I have this awesome, really cool guitar. Great. Do you know how to use it? Right. I have a pair of scissors. I could cut your hair. Right. It won't be good, but I can do it because I have the scissors. I have a voice, so I can do voiceover, but it may not be good because you don't know how to use it.
Yeah, and Rob Paulson actually has a great book. It's in his autobiography. He's a very successful voice actor. And he makes the analogy of, lots of people can make funny voices, or lots of people can do a Christopher Walken impression, but can you do Christopher Walken as a starfish? Can you do Christopher Walken as a starfish underwater? Can you do Christopher Walken as a starfish underwater in love with a shark? And can you sing in that voice as well? You've got to be able to do all of these things. You've got to be able to create the voice. You've got to be able to sustain it and use it in different situations and scenarios. And that's what you need to be successful. Yeah. It's not just the voice itself.
Yeah, there are, so many things that so many people can do, and it's because they've learned what to do with their voices. They learned how to play their instrument. Mm-hmm. They learned how to cut hair with their scissors. Right. People, they learned how to do surgery. It's like, I can hold a scalpel. I could probably cut something.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think you want me cutting into you, though. So let's not do that.
Exactly.
So, yeah, learning what you're doing. Become competitive. Become a professional. Become skilled, And if you have a great voice, then excellent. That will push you even further, But it really is about learning what to do with it. Learn your instrument.
And a lot of that's just training, making sure you're taking the proper classes, you're learning, it's important to know what you do well, but also what you don't do well, knowing what your limitations are and learning where you fit in. I think that's all equally important.
Yeah. Getting the education. It's like, and there are so many ways to get the education now. I mean, obviously you're here. So you're not here just to see our faces. You're here to get something out of it, right? I see in the chat, there's some names I know, some names I don't necessarily know yet. So it's like there might be some new people, there are some pros, there have been some people who are kind of somewhere in the middle, like just getting started. But you're here to learn something, and that is number one, and you're going to want to do that your entire career. Even when you're super successful, you want to make sure that you are still learning all the time, learning from other people, listening to podcasts, asking questions, getting involved, networking. There are so many different classes out there.
It never ends.
Yeah, and it's like, you can do things, on your own, listening to podcasts and doing some of the, train at your own speed kind of stuff online. There are live group classes, there's private coaching, a lot of stuff is virtual too. Yeah. So it's like,
you're not limited by where you're living. You don't have to be in a big city.
Yeah. There's a ton of opportunities to learn. So it's just a matter of really taking those opportunities, figuring out what you can do with your voice. And honestly, you're probably going to be pretty surprised about some of the discoveries that you make. Even people I know who have been doing this for 10, 15 years, it's like they take a class and they're like,
oh,
wow, I learned something new. And it's like, well, yeah, because things are always changing. There's different techniques. You're going to learn different techniques from different people.
So I always recommend people take classes with more than one instructor or company, because
Yeah.
you'll find different tips and tricks that work for you, some that
Yeah.
won't, and you
Yeah.
never know where that next epiphany or inspiration is going to come from.
Yeah, yeah. Work with casting directors, but also work with other actors. Work with voice directors.
Mm-hmm.
There are engineers out there who are teaching, things. So it's just learn from as many people as you can, and it's going to be more versatile. And it's also one of those things. The more people that you're learning from, the more you can grab little things here and there
Yep.
that work for you, because nobody's method or
Oh, yeah.
whatever is going to work for
Everybody.
everyone.
Yeah.
It's like in any class that you take, whatever works for you, take that and forget everything else.
Exactly.
It's like everything that we teach here, it's like certain things work for certain people, and great.
And that's
Run
a great
with
way
that.
to network too. Getting in front of the more people you can. People are going to remember you, hopefully, for good things.
Yeah.
But that's how you make those connections, whether it's with casting directors, agents, the more producer side, but even actors can help you, get make connections with other things that might lead to a job. So you never know where those connections and those those different things are going to lead to.
There's lots of Facebook groups too,
Mhm.
so it's like finding your way to some of those. I'm on a lot of them, and I try to give a casting input here and there. But I do see actors saying, "Hey, I have a client who is looking for this type of voice. They asked me to help out." It's like they're not technically in casting, but they're actors who already have these clients, and the clients are asking for a favor. So that's great. If they have a friend who they know can do it,
Mhm.
perfect. So the networking is a big part of it. And I know that's not always everybody's most comfortable thing.
Yeah.
I totally understand groups of people. But it is something that will
It's a
definitely
necessary evil.
It'll help your career.
Exactly. And you might make some friends along the way. Who knows?
Exactly. And like I have to say, like, the voiceover community is the best.
They're great.
I mean,
A lot of friendly people. Everyone wants to help you out. Very supportive.
yeah, it's like you'll be auditioning for the same thing, but it doesn't feel like you're competing with your friend. It's like you guys are throwing around ideas instead. We've seen it many a times in the lobby here, where it's like people are discussing things as opposed to thinking of it like,
Ooh, I gotta keep it
don't take my idea.
Yeah.
It really is an amazing community, and everybody is so helpful. Like I said, the Facebook groups and stuff that are out there, like, people are asking for tech advice, people are exchanging gear, it's like there are so many things out there, and not just in LA, but all over, and it's like getting to know and be a part of that community can also help.
So, what makes a successful voice actor, you might be wondering? You said I need to have
Not the
all these
voice.
things, so what do I do now? And it can be hard to pinpoint, and like anything that's more on the artistic side of things, a lot of it is, personal preference. But just some things that come to mind, is versatility. You've got to be able to do more than one thing and do it well. Just being that nice, friendly, conversational voice is great, but being able to put a little more sell onto it when you need to, or going a little more quirky, or adding some humor to something is always good, and being able to showcase that range. That's why when you do auditions and you're sending multiple takes, that's a great chance to showcase what you can do with a certain script.
Along those same lines is, you have to be versatile, but you also have to be able to take direction. Such a big thing with voiceover, I mean, with any art, is the collaboration, and you have to be able to take direction, even if it's bad direction, because that'll happen too.
Like, that happens all the time. The director will give the actor some direction, and they try it out, and they're like, "Oh no, that was wrong," and and then they're like, "Oh wait, okay, so scratch that. Let's try this instead." But that's all part of the process. And sometimes you got to try things, and just sometimes it crashes and burns, but sometimes it's really cool, and you just never know.
And sometimes you'll be in a session where it's like you have a client who's on the line and they don't really know how to direct.
Yes.
So then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we need that friendlier, and it's like, do you have any other words to help us out here?
There's an actor who told me a story once. the direction she gets over and over again is more smile. She's like, I'm smiling as big as I can.
Yeah, so it's just playing and taking that direction and just kind of, running with it, having some fun with it, whether it's right or not. Being part of that collaborative effort, it also just makes you fun to work with.
Yeah.
And again, in this kind of an industry where, there are tons of people, but there's a lot of jobs out there too. So, it is one of those things where you don't just want to be a talented person. You also want to be someone who's directable, who's easy to work with.
Yeah. Who people want to work with.
Yep. Following instructions is another big thing. When we get hundreds and hundreds and sometimes 1,200 auditions, one of the things that we use to kind of weed people out is labeling. Did they follow the instructions? We have the instructions in the email. We have the instructions on the script. So whether you're getting it directly from us or through your agent, that should be there. Sometimes people just overlook it. It's like so often we end up asking for no slates, and then had a project earlier this week where we asked for slates and only half the people slated, and it's like, I can't submit you without a slate because this client wanted slates. So you have to be careful with things like that because it can, get you disqualified.
And even just like, I know sometimes it can get overwhelming. You get an email from your agent or from us or whatever, and it might be long, there might be a lot of information there, but one of my pet peeves is when somebody emails me and the answer was right there in the email. They have a question about, when does the class start, or how much is something, and it's like it was right there
as per my email.
If you just read it. So always, I do this too from time to time. I'm guilty of this.
It happens. We all do.
But just before you write, maybe just take that extra minute. Let me reread it again. Make sure I didn't miss something. Yeah. And then see if you actually do need to send that email or ask that question.
Yeah. Yep. Look it over. I do it as well, even with clients sometimes. It's like I'll email them and be like, so is this going to be for 1 year use? And then I look back at the email after I've already sent that, and I'm like,
there it was.
Disregard my last email.
Happens,
I see it. It was kind of hidden in there, but I didn't look close enough. Right. We all do it. So that is definitely something. It happens, but just a friendly reminder. Yeah. It can be a lot. So, just doing your best. We're all just trying to do our best.
Yeah, exactly. And then just one other thing I always think, when I think of actors that are really good, they're the people that make it feel effortless. Like they just pull those words off that page. They just make it feel like they are talking to that person. They just have that je ne sais quoi, that thing that, what exactly it is, I don't know, but, those characters just come out of them. And a lot of that is just training and experience. The longer you're in this industry, the more you're auditioning, the more, training you get under your belt, the easier it becomes. So just, keep practicing, keep working out, whether it's, a weekly workout group or, taking those classes or even getting together with friends and just reading through copy. Just the more you practice, it's just going to get easier and easier, and just having that, that ability to just make it sound real and natural.
And that builds your confidence. Things are going to always sound a lot easier and more effortless just by being more confident. And that comes with time. Again, that's one of those things where it's like one of these people who calls and says, everyone says I have a great voice. What can I do with it? Do you have any jobs? We've literally gotten just straight up asked, do you have any jobs?
Can I come in today and read on something? It's like, that's not how this works.
You want me to just hand you work when you've done nothing to even learn about it? But it's like, I've had people reference the golden voice. If everybody remembers the golden voice, the homeless man who was, they did Craft several years ago now. And it's like, yeah, but he was in radio before. So he wasn't technically just a homeless man that they grabbed off the street and they gave a campaign to. A little bit different. So, Yeah, and then, going back to just being easy to work with, being friendly, having fun with it, those are the people that we want. The reason that we as casting directors still exist in a world with online casting, and we're, successful. We're busy, we're a busy casting house. Casting multiple projects every week. And, the reason for that is because we get to know talent. And so it's our clients will come back to us and be like, that session was so great. It's twice in my 15 years, almost 15 years here. Only twice have I had clients come back and be like, oh, that was rough. That was hard. The voice wasn't, what we wanted, or they took no direction. They didn't want to do any more takes. They refused to do any more takes in the session. These are things that happen. Those are the kind of people that we won't work with anymore. Yeah. Because why? Why do we need to work with that?
Don't burn those bridges.
Nobody
Don't have an ego.
Is good enough to
Everyone's
put
replaceable.
Up with that. Yep.
Everybody.
Yep. All right. So just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, obviously we do offer training here. You can take classes with us, work with some of our casting directors, our casting team. You can take classes a lot of different places. If you're not sure where, feel free to reach out. We're happy to recommend some things to you. We do animation, commercial, all of that here. We have multiple instructors. We have a big announcement. Dun, dun, dun. We are actually working on filming for some training courses that we're going to have available online. So, sometimes people, whether it's financial or time, just have a hard time committing to a live class, whether it's virtual or in studio. They just have a hard time committing to a live class. So we are going to be doing some online training videos that will be available. We're hoping to release, hoping is the key word, don't have an official launch date. We're hoping to release at least a soft release in June for some of it. So we will keep you posted on that. It's going to be exciting. And we have some other new workshops that are going to be coming up soon too. That will be live. But they're going to be one-day workshops so that, people don't have to commit to 6 weeks or even 4 weeks. It's just going to be one-off kind of things. So stay tuned for all of that. Exciting stuff. All right. So let's move into the
AMA portion.
Yep. Ask us anything.
So I think Eric had a question up a little bit.
Yeah, let's see if Facebook cooperates with us today.
All right. Trends on commercial reads. Let's see. There's some buzz going around that the conversational read, like the really super straightforward conversational read, is trending more towards a read that has more personality.
100%. So here's the thing with the conversational read, there is the word conversational. I'm just going to preface with it drives me crazy. Catherine's probably heard me talk about this a bajillion times. But the word conversational drives me a little bit crazy because if you are truly conversational, you're going to be boring. So I think, Eric, what did you say? Super straightforward. So super straightforward. I mean, it's pretty boring. If you sit in a coffee shop and just listen to somebody's conversation, it's pretty boring. So that has never been a huge part of it. Because honestly, if you go that extreme, it's not interesting enough for a commercial.
Because you're selling something. At the end of the day, we're selling something. So
you've
got to sound interested in it.
You have to sound genuinely interested in it is what you need. So for me, I think the biggest thing is conversational means approachable. It means relatable. So anytime you see the word conversational, just think relatable, and it might make it a little bit easier for you. Because what we're doing is we're looking for a relatable voice. We're looking for someone who just sounds like an everyday person. Mm-hmm. However, the feedback that we often get if people are too conversational, too flat on their deliveries, is that they need to be able to hit the sell a little bit more, or they need to have some fun with it. And so the personality part comes in. Just I mean, honestly, simply with the fact that there's a difference between the audition and the final spot. The audition has to have more personality. We have to see that. One, it's showing us your personality, so it goes back to that. Are they fun to work with? Does this sound like somebody I want to work with? And then also, just catching our attention. You have to catch our attention. And then, give us the more conversational read, especially if you get to do 2 or 3 takes, which all of our projects we want 2 or 3 takes because we want to see your range. It's definitely giving that personality. And then if you want to give a more straightforward read, you can. So a lot of the specs that we're seeing are still saying conversational, but you're absolutely right in that they are also adding in the words fun, personality, loosen it up, comedy, things like that all also just point to be a person, have a personality, have an opinion. It has to be positive about the product, but have an opinion, be yourself. Something I say all the time, and I'm going to say it again. I need to tattoo it on my forehead, is don't try to be what you think the client wants.
Yeah, just be yourself. Be
yourself, and you'll be what the client wants.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
There you go. My words of wisdom for today. That's the best breakdown I've ever heard. For whatever conversational. Yes. Yeah, the word conversational just drives me bonkers because it's not often used in the right context.
I always think of when I see conversational, I call it VO conversational.
Yes.
And it's how people talk in voiceover land. Like, it's not how people talk in the real world, but how people talk in voiceover world.
Yep.
So knowing that distinction.
Yep. And in commercials, I call it commercial conversational. It's the same sort of thing with animation, though, because sometimes animation projects will do the same thing where they're like,
we want it grounded.
To be so real and grounded and conversational. And it's like,
no, you don't. No, you don't.
We don't trust them around here. We don't trust any of them around here. All right. Upbeat but not quite high energy, halfway between. Yes, Andy, that's exactly where it's at. It's like we even had a spec the other day. So Andy's comment here, just not everybody's reading along with us, I realize. Upbeat but not quite high energy, halfway between conversational and high energy. That is something that's a good kind of way to describe it, because that is something like we saw the other day. We had one where they were like, comedic timing is a must, must have a comedy background. But then it literally said, but we want it to be relatable and not funny.
Or I love when they'll say they want something funny, but the script isn't funny. It's like, what?
It's just like conversational, and then they give you the word introducing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Who writes this stuff?
Yeah. All right. And hi, Alex, do your instructions provide personalized training one-on?
Yes, we do have people here. Yeah, people here do private lessons.
Yep.
If you're interested, you can email us and we'll send you that information.
Yep, multiple of us do it.
Yeah, just reach out to people individually and see what their availability is like.
Yep. Yep, definitely. All right. And then Susie, does anyone ever find out if their audition is in the finalist batch sent to the client? Not really. I mean, you'll find out if you're on the short list and we check your avail, or you'll find out, if you book the job. That's usually about the only way. I don't do it on every single audition, but once in a while, if you're like, oh, I feel like I nailed that one, if you have time, any chance you could give me some feedback, like, we're happy to give you some feedback. Like I said, not every audition, because if we did that for everybody on every audition,
never do anything else.
But absolutely, reach out to us if you have any questions or concerns like that. We're all about helping everybody. Like I said, it's a collaborative effort. We can't do our jobs without you guys. So
yeah, we want you to book the job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who writes this stuff? So true, Eric. So true. All right. Excellent. I think that's all the questions that I saw in there up to this point. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
About anything. Anything voiceover.
Hi, Jen. Hi, Sarah. Dominic. This This thing keeps popping up and driving me crazy. There we go. Any questions? Anything at all? We actually didn't have any in our Google Forms. If you think of anything, feel free to pop them in our Google Forms, and we can make sure we cover them in the next live as well. In May. How's it going to be May already?
We're almost halfway through the year.
Excellent. All right. Any questions? Anything at all? I'm not seeing anything else in the comments. We're here if you have any questions. Otherwise, we'll hop off and go back to listening to voices. The voices in our heads. Oh, wait, that's just you guys' voices.
I hope.
I hope so, too. All right. Sarah, working on it. Working on a question? Oh. When will your new digs open up? That's a great question, Susie. I assume you mean like our studio and everything from renovations. Hopefully soon.
We'll let you know.
We're getting a new roof right now. And so we have all kinds of excitement happening. You can imagine how fun it is to be getting a new roof on a recording studio. It's been a lot of fun. But that should be done in the next few days here. So, but yes, we are working on it. I'm hoping that a good chunk of it is done by like the end of the summer. But we'll see. You know what they say. Everything always takes a lot longer than you think. Every small job takes 3 trips to Home Depot.
Large influx of questions here.
Excellent.
All right. Typically, how do talent get on your radar? So yeah, Steve, taking classes is a great one. That's probably the best way, just because then we really get to know you.
Mm-hmm.
But you're always welcome to email us your demo. We'll take a listen, keep you on our roster for stuff that comes through that you'd be right for.
Yep.
So yeah, you can always shoot an email to us, and we'll keep you in mind.
Yep. Casting@voicecaster.com. Then you can make sure you attach your demo. Send your contact information, of course, and then if we need anything else, we'll let you know. But yeah, so you can always submit just a demo. Obviously, doing classes and stuff helps because then we get to actually know you, and we get a chance to work with you. And like I said,
You'll stick out in our memory better.
Part of the reason like casting directors like us still exist is because we get to know the talent. And I will admit it's harder now since the pandemic because we used to have everybody coming into the studio all the time. So it's like every single audition was basically done in our studio. So we got to work with the actors. So it's like if somebody was hard to work with,
we'd know.
Then we would know right away. Whereas now it's like we're hearing an audition, it might sound great, and then we send them into a session and the client tells us that it's a nightmare. So it's one of those things where, we're also around because we vet the talent as well. So, yeah.
I noticed the trend of no slate. Just go directly into the recordings. It's the new. Yeah, Dominic, it seems to be.
Yeah, it seems like everybody's doing it. It's one of those things where it's, I think this is my take on it. I think attention spans are only so long. And so you want to get right into the script. And then, it's also one of those things where people don't always know how to slate. I teach it in my classes, but not everybody does. So there are some also really bad slates out there, and sometimes clients have a hard time getting past how somebody introduced themselves. So, all right. And Andy, do casting directors share? Like nightmare clients. We chat with each other, absolutely. We've been on casting director panels. We've gone to, VO conferences where we're talking to other casting directors. We talk with agents. So yeah, absolutely. We all do.
So don't be a jerk.
It's a tight-knit community. Just a couple weeks ago, me and Catherine went and had lunch with an agent. So it's like it's a pretty tight-knit community. Yeah. If you get a bad reputation with one, it probably spreads. Sorry. There we go.
No.
I'm sorry. Facebook. There's got to be a better way to.
I've been concerned about accepting union work since I'm so new. Can that be a setback? Oh, and now it just all disappeared.
There we go.
Oh.
I tried to make it bigger.
I made it smaller. Maybe? I don't know. Oh, you can see the whole thing though.
Sorry, everybody. We're still figuring out.
Can that be a
Facebook
setback
thing.
in getting work if you're just starting, or is it better to start off union? I'd say whatever works for you. I mean, I guess is your ultimate goal to become union? Because if so, then cool. But so much is non-union right now. I don't think there's a rush to join the union unless you need to for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say just take it as it comes.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where I would say like audition for anything that comes up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like stay union or stay non-union for as long as you can. Especially more recently, and this was actually a topic in one of the Facebook groups that people were talking about, is like everybody will encourage you to go union, right? Because there's union contracts, there's different protection, things like that. However, when people go union too soon, they start to find that they're not getting the opportunities to audition. They are not getting the jobs. So it's like they book a union job, they join the union, they're really excited, and then nothing happens for a while. So that is, I mean, that's a big risk that you run. So, you know, if you're new and just getting started and you're getting non-union opportunities, stick with those. You know, keep doing that. That doesn't mean that you can't audition for union, because also the first union gig that you book, you don't have to join the union. Yeah. You get Taft-Hartley'd, which means that usually casting directors will do the Taft-Hartley. We send that off to SAG, and then you're clear to work that job with the union, even though you're not in the union. Mm-hmm. After 30 days, you become a must join. So then when you book another union job after those 30 days, then you have to join the union. So, and I've known people who book a job, and then it's like 2 years later, they book another union job and have to join. So don't stress about it too much right now. I also know people who are like, you know, if they're a must join, so they've booked their first union job and they're a must join, then, you know, it's like they might turn down an audition where it's just a demo paying $225, because then you have to join the union for over $3,000. I think it's close to $3,500 now. And your job's not even going to pay for that. And then it's going to limit the jobs that you get. So that's also just something to kind of consider. Yay, progress. Do you think you'll ever have live? Yes. Yeah, we definitely want to get back into some live auditions. You know, it'll never be what it was where we had everybody coming in, but we definitely want to open it up and be like, hey, our booth director is going to be here between this time and this time. If you want to come in, great, let's schedule a time.
Scourge self-done demos. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Don't
Andy.
Make your own demo.
Yeah.
I know it's expensive, but it's a worthwhile investment.
Yeah,
and it's going to sound good. And
a good demo can last you easily 5 to 10 years. It's not like headshots where you have to update them all the time. A good demo is going to last you a long time. And you can get a good demo at a reasonable price. You know, it's like I see demos now like upwards of $2,000-$3,000. Ours are not near that. We haven't raised our rates. I think we raised them $100 in like the last 15 years. But you know, like it's one of those things where we try to keep ours affordable. Some of them are more expensive. You know, it just kind of depends on what you want to do. Obviously, listen to people's samples and stuff and find the demo producer that you think is going to give you the best demo, the biggest
someone
bang
that you
for
like
your
what
buck.
they do.
Yep. But yeah, self-done demos, we can tell instantly.
And a lot of times people don't know what they're doing, and it's just it just doesn't sound good.
Yep. And like I said earlier, it's a small industry. We all talk.
Yeah,
you
want to make a good impression.
If you're sending it to us and then you're sending it out to agents to submit, you know, it's like you want to make a good first impression. It makes a huge difference.
When recording a video game or animation audition, would you recommend doing 1 or 2 takes of the script? A lot of it depends on how long it is. Because I saw a few auditions this week where they were like 10, 11 pages. It was like the entire freaking show. Stuff like that, probably not unless you have something completely different. Like if you've got, especially animation, if you've got different character voices you want to do, then it could be worth sending a couple.
But they have to be distinctly different. Yeah. You know, if they're just subtly different, then don't do it.
No,
because
it's not worth it.
Most of the time with video game and animation, too, it's like you can show a pretty wide range of emotions just in one take. Well, so also think about showing your range that way. You can show energy and pacing level differences all within one take.
Yeah, because a lot of time the sides are specifically crafted. You know, like with commercials, it's the script. This is what it is. With animation and video games, they're taking selections from the script to show that range and to show those different character arcs and attitudes and things. So you're able to showcase a lot of variation just with the audition sides as they are. So
yeah.
And if you've got one solid take, I don't think you need to do a second one. You know, especially if you don't have something. You know, don't stress about it.
Yeah. You know? If you have two distinctly different ideas and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do, you know, I don't know which one to do, then do two takes. You know, it's like they may not get to the second one, so put your strongest one first. But send two if you have them. Otherwise, you know, it's also going to be about what they're listening for more than the voice, again, is the acting. So it's like if you have strong acting chops especially with animation and video games, you know, if they can hear that, then they might just do a callback and be like, hey, can we try this type of voice? You know, they might do a directed callback where they, you know, get to work with you. Yeah. And then you get to play around with different voices, but what got you there was the acting more so than the silly voice or whatever you chose.
And kind of along that line, thoughts on giving two takes, one following the specs to the letter, and another being completely different. I'd say depends on what you think by completely different.
Yes. Don't be different for the sake of being different, Steve. And everybody.
Yeah, don't do something completely off the wall.
Yeah, it still has to make sense with the copy. But doing something different is good. You know, it's like not changing the words, adding to it, ad-libs, improvising, that kind of a thing, making the punctuation your own. If there's a weird, like, ellipses, maybe take it out for one of those takes because it can make it your own. At the same time, don't always try to fit all of the specs into one take. And what I mean by that is you will have specs that are like, we want it mellow and friendly with a lot of energy.
Or the spec will be longer than the script.
Mellow with a lot of energy. Okay. That is hard to lump together. It doesn't make sense. Usually that happens when there are multiple people giving their input and everybody on the creative team gets their input. So it all goes into one spec and you're just supposed to figure it out. So in that kind of a case, I mean, I honestly would be like, you have 3 different takes right there. You've got your mellow take. You've got just your friendly take. That's kind of in between. And then you've got your energetic take. So you can also use the specs to figure out your 2 or 3 takes. So playing with something like that as well. Yes, I think once an implement comes up as union, I've been hesitant to audition for it because I see so much work non-union, I'm afraid. Yeah. You can audition for it. Once you book your first one, then go from there. But it's also good. After 30 days you had to join. Nope. Just you just become a must join after that. So the next job that you book, you join. Okay, there we go.
Touch on getting the same, okay. Yeah. If you get the same audition from us and your agent, what is the protocol situation or submission protocol?
Great. Yes. Yeah. So if we send it to you directly, so first of all, a lot of, and we're just kind of learning this, that a lot of casting houses don't even keep their own rosters of talent anymore. So they are only working with agents. We still, and always will, I don't know why we wouldn't, we still work with talent directly. We're all about new voices.
There's so many good actors that don't have representation.
Yeah. And honestly, it can be so hard to get representation, whether it's in LA, New York, wherever. It can be challenging for a number of reasons. So we see potential in somebody, especially our students. A lot of our students, a lot of people that we work with, we end up booking them on their first jobs, and I love that. I'm very proud of that because, you know, we did something right with the training, and we presented them to our clients, and our clients liked them too, you know, and they did well in the session. So yes, so you might get an audition then from us directly, but then you might get the same audition also from your agent. So then a lot of times people will write back and be like, hey, I'm going to send this through my agent. And then I find that we're responding then saying, okay, but also send it to us just in case. So the reason for that is if we sent it to you directly, that means we want your audition. We want you to specifically. We don't have mass email lists. Catherine painstakingly goes through and puts all the emails in individually, okay? And so we are specific in who we want to audition for things. We don't just send out mass emails.
Yeah, there are agents that'll send it to everyone on their roster, regardless of if they're right for it or not.
Yeah, we don't do that. So we are very specific. So if we send it to you, it's because we think you're right for it and we want to hear you on it. That's another thing that I'm just going to add before I answer Sarah's question, is that also don't second guess something that you're getting direct from casting. We're sending it to you for a reason. We don't just send to everyone. So if you're like, oh, this doesn't seem right for me, either try it, or if you do have a question about it, you know, email us and be like, should I still do this? I don't really do this accent, or, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah. Sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we get weird accent things and we're like, maybe they can.
Yes.
But, but that's because we saw something in you that made us think you might be able to.
Exactly. It's all about that potential. So yes, so then if you get it from us, we really want you to read on it. So make sure you read on it for us and send it directly. If you get it from your agent, also send it through your agent. I would rather have it twice than not have it at all, because what has happened, and not just once or twice, this has happened multiple times, where talent email me back and they're like, I'm submitting it through my agent, look for it from them. And I'm like, okay, great. You should also send it to me. And then agents send it out to a lot of people on their roster, and then they submit to us. They don't always submit all of their talent. Just like we can't submit everybody who submits to our client, they're not submitting all of their talent to casting. That means they may have 40 people in your agency read and only send 20 on to casting. What if you're not in that 20 for some reason? What if your agent thought 20, you were 21? They thought 20 other people in the agency were better than you, and you were number 21 and your audition didn't get sent. Then we're not going to get it at all. So definitely send to us and send to your agent. You know, and then there are also things, you know, that we send out to talent. And whether it's just quick turnaround, we don't have time to throw it out to the agents, or, you know, sometimes it's just clients are limited on money and things like that. So it's like we send it to talent directly, and, you know, if you get something from us directly, I mean, everything is confidential, so don't forward things to your agent and things like that, because then the agent's coming back to us and they're being like, hey, I got this from so-and-so and I want to send it to all my other talent. And, you know, it's like, if you book the job, we can talk about it then if you want to get your agent involved. Again, it's like sometimes you may not want to because their cut is going to come out of the flat rate that the client is offering. Some agents are not a fan of flat rates, and that's why most castings don't go to them. They just go out to the talent. So, you know, there's a bunch of reasons, but but yes, I would rather have your audition twice than not at all if we send it to you, because we're sending it to you for a reason. All right.
Looks like we're all
excellent. All right. Hopefully all of that makes sense. It's a lot of information, and, you know, sometimes it's also just stuff that we talk about all the time and we've dealt with for years and years. So yeah, it makes sense in our brains. Would you put the true to spec take first or the unique take first? Oh,
Go with your gut.
Go with your gut. Go with what you felt was the strongest.
Like if you felt really good about that more unique take, whatever, you never know.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like most of the time you want to put something more interesting first. And I'm saying most of the time. There is no formula for this. I was just talking about this last night in my class, actually. There is no formula for what take goes first, unfortunately.
It all depends on who's listening.
Yes. It is one of those things where, my overall idea is that when I'm listening through to auditions, if I hear something interesting first, then I'm going to be there and I'm going to listen, and then I'm also more likely to listen to the second take. Whereas if the first take is just like, okay, yep, that's what I expected, I might not get to the second take because the first one didn't capture me as much. Again, it goes back to don't do something unique or different just for catching attention, just to be unique and different. It still has to be genuine. It still has to come from a place, and it has to work. But it's definitely, you're in a sea of hundreds now. At some point, I keep talking about this. Maybe I have to enlist Catherine's help with me. But what I want to do is, because most of the time when we're listening to auditions, we are listening to the first 3 to 5 seconds. And I want to put the first 3 to 5 seconds of a bunch of different reads all on one track and just let you guys listen how the first 3 to 5 seconds, doesn't matter how unique somebody's voice is, they're almost always all doing the same thing. And I want to put 50 to 100 people on one track reading the same script, just so that you can hear that only a few people actually switch things up. And, when you're talking about doing multiple takes, you have to switch it up from the very first word, because we're only listening to those first 3 to 5 seconds. You don't get long to really get something different in there. So that's something that you have to kind of keep in mind.
I also consider what the product is. If it is something that's a little more looser, or that does have more of a comedic bent, or that, is something that's more of a fun brand, then put that more unique one up front. If it's something that's maybe a little drier, a little more serious, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's more about your gut. There's no exact way to do it. It's
if there was a formula we could tell people, we would be so rich.
We'd be millionaires. We wouldn't even be in casting anymore. We would just straight up be coaching or selling our product. But no, you have to, and go with your instinct. It's I also had a big discussion about this. I think it was in my class on Monday. Just talking about listening back to every take that you're doing when you audition is painful. Don't do it. Do multiple takes before you listen back to anything, and honestly, make a note of what felt good. It's if you did 4 takes and the second one felt the best,
there's something to that.
Yeah, go with that. That happened for a reason.
It's hard to be, it's hard to judge yourself from an outside perspective. You get so hung up on, and people get hung up on little things that nobody else notices. You'll hear things in your own read that if I were to listen to it, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes.
It sounds fine to me.
Yeah.
So don't be your own worst enemy.
Yep. Cut yourself some slack. But go with your gut. Go with how it feels. You're gonna know which take you like more. Put that one first. Good. All right. Are you seeing any particular industry doing more work? Oh, that's a good question. Commercials have been,
they're always pretty steady,
booming. Yeah. There's definitely a lot in advertising. I would say commercials are just huge right now. It's there is a lot more in terms of dubbing and stuff like that out there as well.
Definitely.
Because all the streaming services, Netflix, things like that.
Lots of content. And animation for that too, because they're always trying to fill that content.
Yep. So there has been a lot more in that regard too. Yeah, good question, Dina. Awesome. Any other questions? We got another minute or two if we have one or two more questions. Anything at all? And like I mentioned earlier, you are always welcome to, email us your questions or fill out the Google form that just, submits questions for us as well. Thinking in terms of tech or financial or healthcare. Oh, okay. So yeah. That's a good question. I feel like there has been a lot of healthcare lately, and I feel like along those same lines, there has also been like an uptick in like beauty products and things like that. I mean, that's probably just a reflection of kind of the world that we live in. But yeah, like cosmetics and stuff as well. Yeah. All right. And
any good recommendations for recording platforms?
Yeah. So Audacity is free. It is not my favorite in terms of just, being user friendly. But it can be multi-track, it can be one track. Really, you only need a one track recording program for voiceover. I highly recommend either SoundForge or Twisted Wave. It kind of depends on if you have a Mac or a PC, but SoundForge and Twisted Wave are both single track recording programs, and they are super user friendly. Both of them run like $50 or $60 to buy the program. So I definitely recommend those. They're just more user friendly than Audacity, and then you can get extra plugins and stuff if you want to, but you don't have to. All right. And is the client usually one decision maker? Oh, there are so many, Susie. So many people making the decisions. So for us as casting, it's like, we take all of the auditions and then we're sending off.
Yeah, we decide who to submit, but we don't make the final call.
Yeah, and it's between like 5 and 30 usually. It's not going to be more than 30. Once in a while, clients will be like, tell me your top 3, things like that. So it's like we might give a plug for a few people, that kind of a thing. But then when it goes off, I mean, it's going to producer, creative directors. There might be multiple, any writers involved. Sometimes, I mean, there are teams of 8 who are trying to decide. I have been on those email chains. And sometimes it's a matter of, I've seen it go so many different ways where it's like, they're going back and forth saying, oh, I like this person, this person, this person, and it's like they give their top 3 in order. Like, here's my number 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then sometimes it's like the person who is in second or third, but on everybody's list might get the job, even, just because they made everybody's list. They were in the top 3. I have also had clients who were like, everybody on the link is great. Let's go with the first person. We had that happen several years ago. It was actually one of our booth directors too. But, so it's one of those things where, and I literally heard a client say that somebody sounded like their ex-wife. So they just couldn't hire that voice. You can't control
Weird
that.
Stuff, yeah.
So,
yeah, there's so much that goes into these decisions that you have no control over.
There's always multiple people deciding, and it's like, there was a session a few years ago. I want to say that you were running it, but where it's like they had the talent in the booth. They did all the takes. It was like a Halloween spot. They did all the takes, and then they were playing them back. They weren't muted on their side. Maybe I was running the session, but they weren't muted on their side. No clients were in the room with us, just the talent. And we could hear basically the marketing director for the company on the other end being like, who hired this person? I didn't have a say in hiring this person, and blah, 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 blah. The actor could hear it all, which is like every actor's nightmare.
I had one of those with a little girl, and it was very painful.
And it's like, I mean, you in that situation, as hard as that is to hear, it's like you didn't get there for no reason. Like 6 people liked you and maybe 1 didn't. It's like anything. But yeah, there's always multiple people involved. Too many cooks in the kitchen a lot of the time. All right. Yep, Twisted Wave on the Mac. I do not envy your job.
So change my name. Oh.
Yes. Yes, Chris, you are now Aaron. All right.
Well, that's probably a good place to wrap it up.
Yep. We're about at 5 o'clock. So thank you all for joining us today. If you have any other questions, obviously we'll be back next month for another podcast recording and AMA. We love answering you guys' questions. So
you guys come up with good questions.
To bring it. Yep. Oh, Susie, hold on. We'll do one more. We got one more minute. How often is the audition selected? Just like the final commercial. Is there a recipe to get the job, even if
there's no recipe?
I wish there was. It would probably make our job easier too. There's really no recipe, and it's like most of the time the audition is different than the job because the people who decide that they like you might like you for various reasons. But then once you get into the session, it's smooth this out, hit this word, the script changes.
This is why it's always important to just be yourself.
Yep. Be you. That's what we want. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us, and we will make sure to let you know as soon as we set the next live here on Facebook. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and hopefully we will see you all back next time. Thank you.
Bye.